How do I pronounce your full name?
Well, it's German pronunciation would be Samuel T. Klemke. But of course it's fine to say Samuel in international English or Klemke even. Klemke is the right way, so but just call me Samuel. Samuel is fine.
Samuel.
Yeah.
Okay. It's more
casual.
Casual. Yeah, casual. Okay. Sam. Okay, Sam. When and how did you start to learn classical guitar?
Well, I was in the fortunate situation that I grew up in a music family.
Okay.
So my father already played guitar, and so it was quite natural for me to see guitars in the house, to see him practice, and I could barely sit with 6 months old when I plucked my first guitar strings. Yeah, I was sitting on the couch or a smaller couch, and my dad was just putting the guitar on the arm rests, so I could just play a little bit with it. And maybe that's normal. Babies are very curious.
Yes,
they want to test everything, especially what the parents do. And so my father was using this with the age of 4. He already had bought a small guitar. Yeah, a little bit bigger than a ukulele size. But with 6 strings.
6 strings.
And we got our first lessons. It was just a few minutes a day, so we were always like curious. Next day we want to play more, we want to play more, and from there just continued going on. And so my father was my teacher and also my sister's teacher for the beginning. Yeah, we both started guitar, and we both play guitar, and we play duo also.
Is your father still alive?
He's still alive, but he stopped playing, and one time he stopped playing with us because he said, okay, my children are now far beyond what I can do, so let them do. But we played trio for quite some time, also playing, busking on the streets just to get used to performing, and so yeah.
That would improve your confidence, right?
Yeah, that's my father, he was thinking about it a lot because he started when he was 17, 18 and was always nervous, and he said he met or saw some musicians, especially the Sinti and Roma, which perform, and they don't seem to be nervous. And he saw the reason for it is that they start from being small children. They are on the stage with the parents doing some things. It doesn't need to be the most important thing, but just some percussion or whatever they do. Being on stage gets usual to them, and so he tried to do the same for us, and it helped a lot. It's not that I'm not getting nervous, especially in exam situations, competitions. It's still a fight with myself always, all the time, because the pressure comes from myself. It's not someone else. Why should I be more nervous in a competition than in something like this? Because I want really to show all what I can do. That's the problem. In the concert, of course, I always also want to show all what I'm able to do, but it's not so strict because you know the audience is much more forgiving than the jury. if you make a little mistake in the competition, it could be like the out for you. But in the concert, after 5 minutes, when you continue playing nicely, the audience is just amazing.
They can accept rather than the jury.
Yeah. So this way you put more pressure on yourself and say you cannot, but that's making it worse. But no, it's playing often for people, for other people, for people you don't know. That's helping. Getting along with nervousness, and of course being well prepared. Like with the pieces, memorizing really well, using different methods of memorization, so you just have to feel sure and self-assured if you got on the stage. I once had a master class with Pepe Romero, and it was like 3 or 4 students, and between the students he was telling something to all or to the audience, and then he was telling, when you come on stage, you should feel well. You shouldn't be anxious to go on stage. Just enjoy the situation, enjoy performing your music, what you worked for so long, just enjoy performing it for the others, and enjoying the music yourself. This is very important. And he was telling me also, even if some mistake happens or so, just continue enjoying it. The next day you still can see what went wrong, but during the concert, don't get angry at yourself, just continue playing.
That's a invaluable advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you choose classical guitar and not other instruments?
This almost solves this question because I told you my father was a guitarist, so it was quite natural to start with guitar as well, because he could teach us and we saw it in the house. And it's a difficult question. If I would have a different answer, if I had like to choose the instrument from the beginning, like if I would start later and then say to my parents, I want to play an instrument. So I don't really have an answer for it, but I always enjoy playing the current guitar. It's very versatile. You can play lots of different things on it, lots of different styles of music, but also lots of different kinds of sounds you can produce on the guitar. The violin is not so versatile. It has almost always the same kind of sounds, but with the guitar you can play pizzicato, you can play the normal guitar sounds, you can play chords, you can do percussion and all these things. That's very interesting, and I asked myself the question if there would be another instrument maybe which I would have chosen instead of guitar. When it comes to repertoire, I must say it's really nice if you could. The tradition of really high quality music pieces, for example, for string quartet, is much bigger than for the classical guitar. So in this sense, another instrument could be interesting, but I never regret playing the guitar. It's a very difficult instrument, but very nice instrument also.
Did you play electric guitar?
Actually, I do a little bit on the side project just to widen my horizon a little bit. My first contact with electric guitar was when I was doing some film projects with fellow students from the Bauhaus University, where they can do media design and things like this. I was doing one project with them, and later they asked for a special reason for the Franz Liszt's anniversary. There was some movie competition, and they were thinking, well, Franz Liszt was a rock star in his time. Yeah, so like he was really famous, and they were like, he had the first groupies and all this who fainted when he came and all this. So they said, let's do a modern version of Franz Liszt. So I made an arrangement of famous Franz Liszt's melodies, played on electric guitar, recorded it, and they made a video with me in that. So this was the first time I had to play something on electric guitar, and after that now I'm also in the cover band, for Scorpion's cover band, just to learn a little bit more on the electric guitar. There are also traditional classical composers who write for electric guitar. They do operas or so, and it's this typical avant-garde experimental type of music, but I could imagine maybe doing this once or two projects or so learning a little bit electric guitar is not bad. You have really to get used to it. Always playing nylon strings, it's quite hard to switch to steel strings. It's quite hurt a little bit.
Who are your classical guitar influences?
The guitarist I heard most when I was young was probably Julian Bream. We had the whole Julian Bream edition at home, and I admire him a lot, and I'm very happy he just received his Lifetime Award, and I think 2 months ago, not sure it was Grammy or something, and what he did for the classical guitar was really good. Of course, first it was Segovia. He started bringing the guitar to a wider audience and to a wider knowledge, beginning of the 20th century. But then during the middle of the 20th century, Julian Bream was asking so many composers to write music for the classical guitar. Like almost all the important composers from the time, like Benjamin Britten, Willie Morton, they all wrote pieces for guitar. That's something he did, and he got really good pieces from it, I think. And also his musicianship, I admire a lot. Like the tone sometimes is just perfect in the right moment. And of course, I heard some Romero, or the Los Romeros, the Williams Bream duo.
Yeah.
So this is like which influenced me most, because that was also the musicians my father went to the concert, and he took me to some of the concerts when I was a teenager.
So you have met Julian Bream?
No, Julian Bream I couldn't make it. I still hope I can maybe one day see him in England or so. It would be really amazing. But
he's very old now.
Yeah.
I don't think he can play.
No, he doesn't play. I think he also had some accident or so in this head when he had to stop. So.
What do you think about John Williams, the guitarist?
John Williams, yeah. No, as I said before, it was one of the influences, one of the I heard a lot. Like for example, also I remember he did the recording of Barrios. And that was the time he was touring Germany. I was 12 or so. And I went to big concert hall in Germany where he was performing, and he was doing a big set of the various pieces there, and just this was made this so perfectly, no mistakes, everything very clear.
You met John Williams?
I've met him later, yeah. This was in a festival in Scotland, and he was performing there with a jazz group, like his new projects he was doing at this time, right? Like maybe 10 years ago or so.
Who is your favorite composer, and why do you prefer him?
Well, if I really have to answer that question, because it's really difficult, there's so many composers composing so differently, so that it's sometimes difficult to compare. But one composer I really like is Johann Sebastian Bach. I think his music is just amazing. Got some perfection throughout any piece, and almost every piece I know is just great, and that's truly amazing. And for me, it's always a pleasure to play Bach. Maybe the best example is when I went to university. I had to start learning piano. It's obligatory for other instruments, learning a little bit piano. I cannot play it, really, because I forgot most of it. It was just for short time, but just to get some harmony, things. You have to practice a little bit piano, and playing Klemke was okay, but boring. But playing a simple Bach, I could do like 1 hour, just 2-minute piece for 1 hour, practicing again and again until I have it in my fingers, no problem. So that, I think, points out like how valuable Bach's music is. But besides that, I also like, for example, for a modern composer, Takemitsu, I like his music a lot. For me, it's very fantastic music.
I think you studied that.
I studied the whole solo pieces, and I studied the whole ensemble pieces as well. The only piece I didn't perform yet was the concerto. He wrote one concerto for quite a large orchestra and guitar. I studied it already a little bit, and I heard the nice recording by Julian Bream, and it's really nice concerto, and very quiet. It's not comparable to a Handels concerto or something where show off. It's not a show off piece, but it's very nice music, I think. And then there are so many other nice composers, or certain pieces by some other composers. It's really hard to say. Sometimes I really like playing sword. There are some so nice sword pieces. Also Julian, it can be much fun playing, and then there are the Spanish and Latin composers. It's really hard to say. It's just one is my absolutely favorite.
How about Agustin Barrios?
Yeah, also his music is very nice. Yeah, and
that's my opinion.
Yeah, he's like he's Tariga South America.
Okay, what is your most favorite classical piece?
Yeah, that's really difficult to choose one piece because it shifts. It's one time it's this, maybe a little later it's this. You mean now my favorite piece in general, or the favorite piece I play?
Currently, you're playing.
Yeah, so one of the pieces because it could be like the favorite, like maybe not even for guitar, just a classical piece. I really appreciate, but even then I couldn't really answer. Well, first I probably would say some Bach. Yeah, I really like the Fuga 1000. I also like the Chapon.
It's a hard one to play.
It's a hard one, yeah. But still, it's a fantastic piece. But it's really so hard to say what is the favorite piece.
So many.
Yeah, there's some. It's really hard to decide if I could only play one piece. Of course, after some, you play some piece, and then this its own is your favorite one, and later another one. I also very much like the Britten Nocturnal, so I don't play it currently, but I played it before, because it's ending in the down so nicely. I like Takemitsu a lot, of course, and his pieces. But to choose one piece is almost impossible for me.
After 31 years of playing classical guitar and winning so many competitions, do you feel that you have achieved your goals in classical guitar?
Never. I think that's impossible to say. Because as an artist, you always find something more where you can go and what you want to try and what you want to do. So I think if you start to rest as a guitarist or what you have already and stop moving on, that's starting to die. Because what gets us so far on the instrument is the will to explore, to find something, to do something, and there's always a way to play better or to play differently or to do something else. So and there are so many pieces you maybe want to try other styles or you want to play with other musicians. So there's so many things to do which are interesting. So
probably you have achieved your short-term goals, but maybe your long-term goals.
There are still always popping up new goals.
Okay. How do you see yourself in 30 years time?
And 30 years. Yeah, I hope I still be able to perform, to travel, to meet new people, to meet old friends, and to meet other musicians, to meet other new musicians, also to make music together. To play music with others for me is very important. Not just other guitarists, but also other instruments. I started quite early, also already during my university career. Performing with other instruments helps you also get new ideas on your instruments, get another perspective on your instrument, because when you practice the guitar, because it's sometimes very, very difficult, the musical results you get sometimes are based on the technique. But once you play with other musicians, they tell you, why do you play this line so strange? This line shouldn't have a gap in there, it's a longer line. But the gap comes before, so I have a position shift here, or I have a barré or something. And so we adjust the music, and then you get to say, actually it's wrong, so try to find a different fingering, or practice this fingering more, so it's getting smoother.
It's between performing and also you have to figure out the physical challenges.
And also the phrasing of wind instruments or bow instruments is different, and you can get lots of ideas from that.
You see different perspectives. Okay. Right. How do you go about practicing a guitar piece?
Like if I want to start a new piece, it really depends, like how much I know the piece before just from listening, or if it's something like the composer writes something for me, get a new score and they don't even know how it could sound. Well, the first thing is like read the score really carefully. Also, I did a lot of sight reading, so if it looks kind of simple, I just would start playing it. But it's important. So I cannot follow it myself also all the time. It's important like to be really precise in the first, not to make mistakes which you learn and later have to correct. So but it also depends a lot on how much time I have for learning a new piece. If I have really lots of time, I just take it every day, every 2 days, and play it a few times. And with the time, I find out the perfect fingerings, and it starts getting into my memory. And at some point, I just can put it aside, and it's in my memory. This is a longer way. But if you like really have to prepare within 1 month or so, and you have really to learn it, actively learn it, it's good to take small parts and learn them. Like if I really have to super fast learn a piece by memory, I'm doing like phrase by phrase learning. I learning the first phrase, repeating 20, 30, 40 times after I found the right fingering. Of course, I first have to figure out how I have to put the fingering so it's running, the music is coming with a technique. And then just repeating until I have it, and then going to the next phrase. After I have the second phrase learned, go back to the first, it is still there. If it's not still there, repeat again so it's there, and then putting those together, and so go on with the next phrases. Sometimes also it's good to start from the back, so learning the last phrase, because otherwise you always repeat the first phrase more often than the others. But that's the way I sometimes do, and then, but that's very rare for me, taking the score, for example, when traveling it's possible, and learning just without the instrument, or even just by memory, playing through it slowly and trying to figure out all the fingerings. But that's very difficult. It costs lots of energy and lots of concentration. Here I really admire those people with the photographic memory. They just can see the page and read it in mind. That's amazing. I have not. So ways how I memorize a piece, or how I remember a piece when playing, is I know how it sounds, and my fingers know where they should move. So that's a kind of combination. And of course, sometimes I actually know, okay, in this part I have to go here or I have to go here.
Would having a good hearing helps to memorize a piece?
Well, yeah, I met once a guitarist who learns all the pieces by CD. He couldn't read scores. He just puts it on and can play. That's amazing too. Yeah. But I think the ability to read scores is very important for musicians, because otherwise you always have to have one recording before you. You can never play a piece which wasn't played before.
Most classical guitarists keeps a short hair. May I know why do you keep it long?
Well, musicians had long hairs before, and like Franz Liszt, for example. But for me, it's also kind of a family tradition. My father is typical 60s generation. He started growing long hair and kept it as a musician, and I just followed it.
Does he still use it?
Yeah.
Alright, I saw your James Bond theme YouTube video, and I think it's a very nice song.
Thank you.
And it seems that you did some acting that you did.
Yeah, the first idea is you see so many guitarists on YouTube, and some are amazing guitarists, but the videos are so boring.
Yeah, sure.
It's always the same. You see some part of the guitar and the performer, that that's it.
Nice.
So I really like video. I like film a lot, and I was doing, as I mentioned before, some film projects with some friends, and I contributed to music, and so I just had some ideas. I thought maybe promote myself on YouTube a little bit, and it was the time of James Bond's new movie, and so I just put an arrangement together. It was like 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, and then without script just went out. I had like some ideas, went out to the park, just start. Okay, first scene, let's do this, and let's do this, and but I really would like to do more. I have already ideas for other videos, funny ones, and I really want to do serious videos, not so serious videos. So also with Takemitsu, I'm planning. I would like to make a full video series on his music because it's so nice music, and I have already some pictures in my head. So I really would like to do more videos, and if anyone asks me for performing in one video, I wouldn't mind.
Okay. Would you consider to become an actor or do a classical guitar?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm really super good actor in the typical Hollywood thing, but certain roles I think I could play, like roles which have a part of me inside, but I think it's a little bit difficult for me. I always try to be like a true artist, to express myself and to express something totally different. That's what I didn't learn. To a certain extent, maybe I can do, where there's something in common with me, and I would like to do that. I think it could be lots of fun, nice work. Yeah.
And also because instruments like piano, violin, do you have any movies of that instrument? Classical guitar, I think none.
No, there's just two guitarists, the two movies the guitarist should see.
Okay.
The one is with Antonio Banderas,
this
brother,
sure.
And the other one is Crossroads. Crossroads, I think that's even older. It's about blues music.
Oh, blues.
And there was a student from Julian, he studies classical guitar. He wants to play blues, and in the end there was the guitar battle, electric guitar, the devil against this guitarist, and they are performing like some really crazy licks on electric guitar, and the devil almost seems to win. But then the classical guitarist on the electric guitar starts with Villa-Lobos study, and the devil fails. So that's one movie for the classical guitarists especially. Also for the electrics, they can see what the classicals can do. And yeah, of course there could be more. Yeah, of course I agree.
What is your advice for inspiring students in learning classical guitar?
My advice is never give up, and take a day rest if you're like fed up with guitars. That's fine. I had my days where I didn't want to practice also, or sometimes more days. I never gave up the thought of playing guitar. That was never the case. But of course, I don't want to practice today. Just do something else. So it's important not to do it too often. You should continue regularly, because otherwise you have much too much work to do. If you keep not practicing for 2 weeks, you start so much far ahead again. And listen to lots of music. Listen to lots of classical music, not only guitar but also other music. And don't too often just watch YouTube videos and copy them by playing. It's good to get some ideas, but so often I hear players who like copy this, who copy this. I mean, it's fine for the young ones, because when you're a teenager, you don't yet have the will to express yourself in music. It's fine just to play technically, do what's written for the music, like the crescendo, the phrasing, and so you should get some ideas of it already. So like what is phrasing, you should get to know it. But it's hard to teach young students like to express themselves. They only can do with others, but the connection comes by itself. You cannot teach it, I think. It comes by getting riper, by getting more experience, and by seeing lots of other good musicians. Yeah.
What future do you see for the classical guitar?
For the classical guitar, well, to see the future, maybe it's good to see the history. I think a big guitar wave started with Segovia, and after that there came the triad, I call them, Romero, Williams, and Bream. And they become very famous. Guitar music became very famous because they played very well, and so the audience was, wow, that's possible with guitar. Before that, guitar was lots of like strumming and singing folk songs or something like this. So after that, there came many guitar players who not all could keep up to the expectations of the audiences or of the concert organizers. So after that, it was getting a little bit more difficult for guitarists again to get concerts. But now there are so many really fantastic and amazing young guitar players around. But still, I think so often sometimes I experience a gap between classical guitar and the more traditional classical instruments like string. It's still sometimes I get when I play a concert series, they say, okay, we try guitar. I say, wow, that's you could do on the guitar. But there are so many concerts like this already outside, and it still happens. And they didn't expect like this kind of level of on classical guitar. And so what I think is important is that the guitarists don't just keep on in the guitarist world. They have to open themselves to the others. They have to try to get connections to the other instruments, also to the other concert series, not only playing on guitar festivals. We have to get more mixed with the others. I mean, still, guitar is probably one of the most learned and most taught instruments in the world. Maybe piano more, but only maybe, I'm not sure about it. Because many come and want to learn instruments, and it's in the pop music, it's everywhere. Every band has a guitar somewhere, almost every. And so they want to learn instrument, maybe they want to get famous or whatever, or just make music, and mostly they want to play guitar or pianos. It's the two choices. So, but this quickly can finish when they see how difficult it is.
Yes.
And it's hard to get many students like to go really for a very good level. So I think there's work to do for the guitar. Find ways to communicate, to bring people to classical guitar concerts also. Not to sacrifice the tradition, but still going new ways maybe of presenting it. One idea of this, because our world became so multimedia. It's this now. It's not just only for classical guitar, but for classical music at all. The audiences are mostly old and getting less and less throughout the music world. So one idea is putting other elements of art with the music. Maybe light, maybe some background video or whatever. There are many ways where you can think of on a program, and maybe you can add something like this here or there. What I did, for example, with avant-garde music, I have an ensemble with avant-garde musician, and we did an old animation movie, silent movie from 1920s or so. It was like a shadow theater movie, and we asked young composers to do the music for it. And we got lots of audiences who would never go if we just perform avant-garde music, because it's like all these effects and strange noises. And we get many good results from that later. The people say it was really really nice to see and fantastic. Actually, if you go to a movie theater, if you go to a big Hollywood movie, sometimes you have really, really avant-garde music, and people going there, they don't know. They just because, like, especially like if it's like a thriller or lots of tension in the movie, they sometimes have all the effects they used in the 60s, 70s, 80s in the avant-garde music they used there, and people would go to a concert, they would say, oh shit, what do they do there? In the movie theater, they hear it, they don't realize it, that what's done, because the music is not the main focus. But if I go there, I realize, of course. And we also did a project with this ensemble with dancers and acrobats, and got the same. There was lots of the audience. They came with small children also, so they got the first exposure to avant-garde music by combining different art forms. And I think that's one way. Guitarists can go maybe, or musicians should go.
So you mean like play a classical piece, then also do a performance?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be another performance. Just put more visual impact maybe for the audience, because they are used to movies, computer games. It's like. It's there you have visual, you have sound, sometimes you have body impact, something like shaking or so. You have 3D glasses now in the movies, so they are so much they get so much input from this multimedia that classical concert where you sit still for 90 minutes is something hard, I think, for if you're not used to enjoying just the music.
Yeah, not everybody can enjoy that.
It doesn't need to be like a 90-minute show totally, but maybe just in between have one piece where you do something which catches the attention again and then keeps on.
I think like what you did in your concert, invaluable, the music, where you mix up some of the elements.
Yeah, but this still was just music. It was just music only. But of course, this is like if you tell the audience the story, they can follow.
Can you just say something about your guitar?
About my guitar?
Yeah.
Like the model I played.
Yes.
Yeah. The guitar I played in the concert 2 days ago is an Alma guitar. It's a Korean guitar by Mr. Kim Hee-hong. I won it last year in the competition.
Who you won?
And so I'm playing this. It's a double top, so quite strong, but good for this kind of surroundings where you have to switch on the AC. It's good to have a little bit stronger. But though it's a double top, it has still quite a traditional sound. So like smaller, or sounds more like a piano almost. This one, I think, it sounds a little bit more classical. At home, I also have German guitars, very traditional, with very soft tone, single top. There's so many good guitarists out there, and also these different styles. Sometimes this one is just more appropriate a little bit than this one. For example, I also would like to play some historical instruments. It doesn't need to be original historical, but for example, playing rigondi on a 19th century instrument. First, it's a little bit easier sometimes because some spacings are different, so you can do it easier. But also the sound is a little bit different. It's not actually weaker also. It can be quite strong, these instruments, but just the kind of quality of the sound is different. So
your guitar is a screw stop?
It's a screw, yeah. It was very white almost. Yeah. And I mentioned double top now. And it's very good to play it. Also for chamber music, for example, it's good to have an instrument which plays a little bit stronger. While when you do recordings, for example, you can choose an instrument which is not as loud but produce very colors, very different colors, and where you can vary the color, the loudness about it.
Do you think it's important to get a very good guitar for a beginner, or just a...
I think that it's important to get a decent guitar for beginners. Sometimes I had some young students and they were having really cheap guitars, and of course the one thing I can understand is, well, they want to start instruments, the kids ask the parents, and they know maybe in 2 months they stop, they don't practice, and they don't do something new. And then to have spent a few $100 on the guitar can hurt sometimes.
For the parents.
But yeah, for the parents, because then it's just lying around. Maybe it's even difficult to sell if not the school is taking care of it or so. But the cheap guitars so often are bad guitars, which sometimes even hurt the fingers of the kids. Like the frets, sometimes they stick out, so they hurt. Or it's not built perfectly, so they press down the string and you still get a buzzing sound. So how can you teach this child to play clean if the guitar is not able to do? They press much too much, and they cannot learn properly. So I think it's worth to spend a few $100, not just 100 on a guitar for a beginner. And usually, if you start in a music school, like here, there are ways to resell the guitar. If you really want to don't want to continue playing the guitar, just ask is there a next student who would maybe buy the second-hand guitar. Second-hand guitar, it doesn't mean bad if it's treated okay and not thrown through the playing rooms. And you can polish it again and it looks almost like new. But it's worth it. Also the sound quality you get out, it's much nicer. It's a lot of struggle in the beginning to learn guitar properly. Piano is much easier. You press a button and a key and you get the note, and it's clean, it's perfect. But for the guitar you have to press on the left hand and you have to plug on the right hand and you have to coordinate, you have to be on the same time there. Even violin, violin is something different because to get a nice sound off the bow, but once you press and it doesn't have to be set precise on the point, and I think this is really difficult for children to coordinate. But that's a good thing for children. By learning this, is the coordination gets really well by it. That's why also in Europe learning an instrument is sometimes used for mental impacted people, and by doing music, by learning music, they are improving their everyday skills as well. So learning an instrument at all is a good thing, even if you only do it for a short time, or continue, or just do it for hobby and not continue professionally.
I think it's because we practice the right and left brain, right?
Yeah, it's a combination of the brains, and it's a lot of motoric things. So you're using lots of brain energy for it, and you're doing music. Music is good for you.
Okay, that's about it.
Okay, thank you.
So all the best for your future.
Thank you.
So I hope you will still come to Malaysia.
I like.
Yeah, you like Malaysia.
I like to come here. Yeah, it's always nice concerts here, or more where I played earlier this year.
Julian.
Good experiences here, so I would like to come back here.
Also, I think Malaysians are treating you well.
Oh yeah, I had lots of fun with all the guitar clan.
Okay. Alright.
Yeah, thank you very much.